Guys, today I'm going to be talking about net profit and gross profit and how to figure that when you're doing a farmer's market. So if you haven't, be sure to watch my other farmer's market videos, and they will be in a playlist that I'm going to post up there. And you can go through and watch all those. What have I got? I've got a behind the scenes one, a kind of how I got started with farmers markets, and I think there's one other on there yet too. But this one we're going to talk about net profit. And one big mistake I see people making when they do a farmer's market or a craft show or something is they'll sell 10 items at $10 each and say, I made $100. Well, they didn't really make $100. They grossed $100. That means they took in $100 at the end of the day. But in order to figure your net profit, your actual profit, you have to figure off your costs. And some of those costs for a farmer's market are going to be your booth fee, the gas that it takes to get you there, and also the cost of the ingredients or the supplies for the things that you've made. And that includes the ingredients for things you sell and the things you didn't sell. So today I'm going to show you some of the documents I use. This is my inventory sheet that I use for farmer's market. So I got this idea from when I was a teenager. I used to sell or help sell t-shirts for different bands, and this is how they'd do it. They'd start out with all the stuff they brought and then how much they had at the opening. Okay, so I've written down all that I brought, and then they'd go through and count at the end how many were left. And then the difference was what you sold. So you can see I've already filled this out for the last week, which, well, actually for today. And here's the date, and then I also put, well, on this side I put how much I charged for each item. Usually I remember, but sometimes if I switch up the prices I forget. So that's kind of for my own memory issues. And then here I've written the total amount that I brought in from what I sold. So I sold, for example, four dozen monster cookies for a total of $20. And then the notes, I have this area just in case I give something away, or if somebody pays more or pays less for something, that way I know it's in my records. So here at the bottom, let's start in this corner, I have people, the people that were there, which is usually just me, sometimes my husband or in-laws or brothers come and help, and then what the weather was like. And this is really important for your overall records because you'll begin to see a pattern. If the weather is bad, you'll sell a lot less. So that's really important. And here I've got the total items sold, and then also the gross profit. So all these numbers added up. And the items sold is important because you might figure out that if you're charging $1 per item and you only sell 20 items every week, then you're better off selling $5 items and selling $20, or 20 of those $5 items and $21 items. That's what I figured out my first year, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. And then there's your gross profit. So on the other side, I have the customer log, and I do this to keep track of my customers, and it's also a good kind of backup record in case my inventory doesn't work. So I write down who came, and I try to put the gender and also what age I think they are, and that's just for my personal, I don't know, my personal record keeping. It's fun to see who buys your stuff and what they buy. So I put the customer, I put down when the customer came, and then I'll put down what they bought, how much they paid, and the number of items they bought. So starting with this line, why this is important, you can see here that I sold a lot of stuff before 11 o'clock. And then 11 o'clock hit, and I didn't sell anything until 12:35. So if you keep track of the time, then you'll start to see when the slumps are and when the busy times are. And then customers, I already explained that. Here we've got what they bought. Again, that's just like a backup record. So if I see here that I sold a bag of fiber and I didn't write that on the back, then, or on the front, I guess this is the back, then I'll just have it here. It's kind of a check and balance for myself. So this is the amount they paid, and this is important because you want your customers to be paying more than less. So if this line is full of $1, that's probably really bad. You want to get that up higher. And that kind of coincides with this column too. And I can see here that most of my customers only buy one thing. And except the first customer bought 2 things and the last customer bought 3 things. So this might be different for you. It's a good idea to keep track of what the average number of things your customers buy and how much they spend on those items. Now real quick, we're going to look at my spreadsheet that I've made, and this is available for free if you buy my book. There's my farmer's market book. There's some links in the back of the book that will get you this document. But this first one here is the recipe cost calculator, and what it is I've written down all of my ingredients, and then how much the total cost is, and then the cost per measurement. So here we have flour, and I know that 1 cup of flour costs 11 cents. So what you do is you add, let me see here, oh there we go. You'll punch in right here how many cups of flour you use. So say I use 6 cups of flour, and it'll calculate the total flour. And you'll just go down through all of the ingredients for your recipe, and when you get to the bottom, I don't know what that was, cornmeal, that's kind of random. Say you use some chocolate chips, half a cup of chocolate chips, and then at the very bottom I also have the packaging. So let's say you used a cake pan for this. And then here it will give you a total for your recipe. So, and it's important when you're doing this, if you're doing it for a farmer's market, to remember that if one recipe makes 2 of your items, to include enough packaging costs to get an accurate total. So, and that's going to be important for our next one here. Costs of goods sold and not sold. So, basically this sheet is going to tell you the cost of each recipe, how much it makes, and you can't really see it on my phone, sorry about that. And then at the end over here, let me see, where are we? Yeah, so I punch in the units that I sold or didn't sell. So for cost of goods sold, I'll write down everything I sold. So if I sold 3 of these monster cookies, I will have put $3.10 into those cookies and earned $8.15 in profit. So, like, I'll go through all these and put down what exactly I sold, and there's quite a few recipes here. Obviously you want to go through and customize your own cost per recipe and put in your own recipes and stuff. But like, I've put down all of the stuff. For example, this one is what I didn't sell this week. And I learned here that I put $6.67 into stuff that I brought home. So that was basically wasted money. But it's important to know because you wanna calculate that into your costs. And then had I sold those items, I would have earned a profit of $21.58, as you can see there. So that is my cost of goods sold and not sold. I figured out at the bottom of my paper sheet my net profit and gross profit. Well, I already figured out the gross profit, but my net profit. And how I do that is I start with my costs. So I know that the booth fee is $20 a week, and gas cost me $4. And if you have other costs like tent or other big costs like that, you want to include that in your overhead. And I also have the cost of goods sold, so that's how much it costs to make all the stuff that I sold, and also the cost of goods not sold. And I only count perishable items in the cost of goods not sold, because other things I can just take week after week. For example, jam. Jam doesn't get added to this. But this is stuff like, this week I brought home 2 rhubarb crisps and a loaf of bread and 3, well, this is 4. No, that says 3. 3 packages of Monster cookies. So that really adds up. And that was my cost of the goods that I brought home, or that I didn't sell. So my total cost this week for attending market was $45.13. And it sounds like a lot, but that's just what it is. And most of the cost is going to be in your booth fee, and also in how expensive are the items you're making. So baked goods are fairly expensive to produce. If you're just selling eggs or vegetables, you're going to be much better off, but I don't have enough of that stuff to sell, so I supplement with the baked goods. And over here I figured out my net profit, which is the gross profit minus your total costs, and that makes your net profit. So this week I made $42.37. And if you want to get really into this, keep track of your hours and then divide your hours by this number, and that'll tell you your hourly wage. And I think mine is about, I'm thinking it's between $3 and $5 an hour, which is kind of low, but that's just what it is. So, and then up here I also like to take note of how much money I made on baked goods and how much I made on the farm, because I want more farm income and less baked goods, because as you can see down here, the baked goods are what's costing me that extra $20. So that is my net and gross profit.